Hare Krishna Mataji. Thanks for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Right. So let us start by invoking the blessings of the Acharyas. Om Jnanativinandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swagarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Panchagalpatrobhyasya Kripa Sandhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktaram Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama
Hare Ram,
Rama Rama
Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram.
One last time. Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare.
Rama
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Ram,
Rama Rama Hare
Ram.
Hare. Hare Krishna. Very warm welcome to all of you. So we are discussing the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and today we will use this slides. So we saw that Krishna is telling the true definition of a sannyasi. A sannyasi is he is not one who does not light a fire or who doesn't do anything, but he is one who gives up the fruits of his work to Krishna. Sanashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yasa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragyan na chakri. And then Krishna is defining the two methods, Aruruksha and Yoga Ruda. So Aruruksha is the yoga method which is adopted by the neophytes, and Yoga Ruda is the method which is adopted by little bit stable people who are little bit stable in Bhakti Yoga. Then Krishna is telling about the nature of the mind, that if mind is a friend, then basically it can be used for deliverance, and if it becomes the enemy, then it is the cause of the bondage. So that's why we have to make the mind. And if we have conquered the mind, then automatically the Paramatma is reached. We have automatically we are in relationship with Krishna. So there is no other third thing. There is either Krishna or Maya. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andhakar, Yahan Krishna Vahani Maya Radhikar. So automatically, if our mind is engaged and if we have control over our mind, then Paramatma Super Soul will start reciprocating with us. He will give us intelligence, he will give us indication what to do, what not to do. Okay. So this is the flow of the sixth chapter. First 9 verses is talking about Yoga Ruruksha and Yoga Ruda. And then the next 17 verses, Krishna will be describing various stages of Ashtanga Yoga. And then in the next section, Krishna will tell about the realization as the super soul. What are its effects? How a devotee doesn't want anything else if he has reached this realization. And then Arjuna rejects Ashtanga Yoga in the 33 to 36 verse. He says that although this process looks so good, but in this Kali Yuga, my mind is very troublesome, so I will not be able to do this process. And then he asked Krishna about the destination of the unsuccessful yogi. What if a person who starts this process and he is not able to complete it, what happens to him? Then Krishna answers that. So there are two categories in that. So one is transcendentalist who has made a lot of advancement, and then he falls down, he is not able to complete, then he is born into a family of transcendentalists. And later we will see that Prabhupada in the purport, he gives example of Bhakti Siddhanta, who is born as a son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he gives example of himself that he was born in the family of Gaur Mohan Dev, who was also a pure devotee. So these are the two destinations of the people who are not able to complete the process of Ashtanga. Okay. So these are the 8 stages which are described in the third verse: Samadhi, Dhyana, and Dharana, Pratyahara, Pranayama, Asana, Niyama, Yama. So these are the 8 stages, and first 2 stages are the Yoga Rudha, and the next 6 stages are Yoga Rurukshu. And then, like in the 6th verse, Krishna tells about the mind, that if it is a friend or it's a Shatru, enemy. So if it is a friend, then it can give moksha, and if it is a enemy, then it gives bondage. So mind is the most important thing. So somebody would like to read this? Hina Mataji, you want to read?
Okay. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the mission of the personality of Godhead. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Yeah, this is the 6.6 purport. And here Prabhupada also gives the analogy of a clear lake. So if the lake is very clear, then you can see what is at the bottom. But if the lake is not clear, there are a lot of foam, then you will not be able to see what is at the bottom. Similarly, if our mind is peaceful, we can see the Lord, we can perceive the Lord in our heart. But if our mind is turbulent, it has a lot of disturbances, then you will not be able to perceive the Lord. So the foremost business of a yogi, of a bhakti yogi, is to make the mind peaceful. Then automatically it becomes easier to practice bhakti yoga. And it's like when you do pranayama and all, yoga and all, then it becomes easier to make to control the mind and senses, because they become peaceful. Because the breath is also a form of the Lord, and when the breath is regulated in the form of yoga and pranayama, then automatically our mind and senses also become inert. Yeah. So Manish Prabhu, you want to read?
Mine is the driver. Hello.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. I'm going to read. Mine is the driver. If you ask your driver, please get me into Kania. That is Kania, no?
Krishna, the phonetics.
Okay, Krishna, Consciousness Temple. The driver will bring you here. And if you ask your driver, please get me in that liquor house, the driver will drive you there. The driver's business is to drive you whatever you like.
Yeah.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can read this also.
Similarly, your mind is the driver. If you lose control, then wherever he likes it, he will take you. Then you are gone. Then your driver is your enemy. But if your driver acts on your order, then he is your friend.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. So basically, in the third chapter we read, right? Indriyani paranyahur, indriyebhya param mana, manasastu parabuddhe, yo buddhe parasastu sa. So above the senses is the mind, above the mind is intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. So mind should always be under the control of the intelligence. And intelligence can be spiritualized by hearing, by taking association of devotees, and then easily, very easily, you can control mind. So if you chant 16 rounds, it becomes very easy. Matlab, there are so many books, there are so many philosophers who speak on mind control. But if you learn this act of chanting 16 rounds by taking devotee association, then you will wonder that ये कैसे हो रहा है, माइंड मेरा कैसे कंट्रोल हो रहा है, मैं जो भोग बना रहा हूँ इतना अच्छा कैसे बन रहा है. वो सब हो जाएगा क्योंकि हम कृष्णा से कनेक्ट हो जाएंगे. क्योंकि यही प्रभुपाद जी ने हमें बताया कि अगर हम 16 माला करते हैं, then we can go back to Godhead very quickly. And then एक बार time Radhanath Maharaj told, I've chanted 16 rounds, now I can do anything. I'm ready to do anything.
Prabhuji, it is a French phonetic, not in English. In English text, it is not given like that way. So it's a very changed phonetic. French phonetics like that. You can do either the initial one.
Yeah, there are some. I know what you're saying. Okay, we'll skip this slide. We don't need to read everything. So we have to start from 8th verse actually.
ज्ञान विज्ञान से तात्मा.
Yes, progress. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रिय युक्त इति उच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्म कांचना. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, at the same time, as the same. So as we discussed in the 4th chapter, that if we cultivate this transcendental knowledge, then it leads to realization, and that realization is the realization of super soul. So when we become connected to super soul, then automatically knowledge arises. So when that realization and knowledge has been assimilated and condensed, then we reach this stage where everything looks alike, because ultimately everything is material. Even the gold, even the money, even the paper, pebbles, stones, everything is material. Everything belongs to Krishna. Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows. Atha Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhavet Grahyam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Jivado Swayamev Smarati Yada. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. So this is also one criteria, that we have to be constantly engaged in service of Krishna. Satatam kirtayantu mam yatantascha drinavata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityukta upasate. So pure devotees are always engaged in the kirtan. Satatam kirtayantu. So then when our senses become spiritualized by this, spiritualized and saturated by the bhakti rasa, then we will realize the transcendental nature of Krishna's name, fame, and pastimes. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. So it's very important to practically experience this bhakti rasa in the association of devotees. Then only you will remain steady in your convictions. Ado shraddha tatak sadhu sangha, tato bhajana kriya, tato anartha nivritti syat, tato nishtha. So this stage which Prabhupada is talking about is nishtha. And nishtha can come only when your bhajan is strong. In the association of sadhus, when you have faith, you do bhajan. And when you do bhajan, then the result is anartha nivritti. And when anartha nivritti is decently done, then you reach nishtha, you reach steady. steadiness in your relationship with Krishna. And these things cannot be achieved by just by theoretical knowledge. It has to be done and experienced. Shrudvanti, Gayanti, Gridanti. So we have to hear, we have to speak, and then we have to Gridanti. We have to assimilate that sound vibration inside our heart. Shrudvanti, Gayanti, Gridanti, Sadhava. So like this, we have to basically take association of devotees and chant Hare Krishna and read Bhagavad Gita and take that sound vibration inside our hearts and assimilate it. Satam prasangan mama veer samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanada shivapavarga vartmani shraddharatiryasya anukramishyati. So this is the only essence. Come together in the association of devotees and chant and discuss about Krishna. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. Yeah. So gradually when Bhakti Rasa keeps flowing and our Anatha Nivritti happens, and when we are surrendering to Krishna, then automatically we become self-satisfied, and then we realize the real nature of all the things. We are able to see things as they are, as we discussed yesterday. Yumam pashyati sarvatra tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. So then we are able to see Krishna everywhere. We are able to see everything connected to Krishna. We are able to see Krishna in everybody's heart. And then we are able to connect all the philosophy to Krishna. So then there is a detachment which awakens in our heart. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahitukam. So many people ask that how do I know whether I am progressing in Bhakti Yoga or not? So this is the litmus test. Your knowledge and detachment should awaken. Knowledge, no, what is the knowledge? Knowledge is that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, and there is a supreme Lord who has a Sachidanand Vigraha form. And detachment means we are not becoming attached to material things because now we are attached to Krishna Katha. We are attached to the devotees. We are attached to the exchanges made with devotees. So these are higher tastes which takes us away from the lower tastes. Okay, 9th verse. Suryanmitrari udasina madhyastha dveshya bandhusu sadhusu api cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Yeah, so his mind is not disturbed by the dualities. As it is said, right? He hate the sin, not the sinner. So even though people might be doing sinful activities, we should be compassionate on them because they are ignorant, but we are not ignorant. For example, Haridas Thakur, when soldiers of Nawab Hussain Shah was beating him, he was not getting angry on them. He was being compassionate that they are offending, what will happen, how Krishna will treat them. So we have to be compassionate on these sinners, but we can hate the sin. Yeah. Yesterday I was discussing with my wife that guest. So in Vedic culture, even the enemy was allowed to come as a guest because Atiti Devo Bhava. Obviously, like in Kali Yuga, they come and they stay for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. It's not happening with us, but I think in non-devotee setting, it happens. There is a movie also by Paresh Rawal, Atiti Tum Kab Jaoge, right? But generally, like we should invite guests. Even if he's an enemy, we should give him good words, good water, and we should try to give them some Krishna in their lives so that Krishna can enter their lives. So everybody should be treated equally as far as Krishna is concerned. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthita ekakiyat chittatma nirashira parigraha A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So now the second section has started, right? This is the second section, stages in yoga practice and so on. So I think we can skip the purport of this. We'll go to the 11th, 12th verse directly. शुचौ देशे प्रतिस्थाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मना नाति उच्छ्रितं नाति नीचं चैलाजीन कुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मना कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रिया उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So this is Ashtanga Yoga, this is not Bhakti Yoga. So in the purport also Prabhupada is saying that in Kali Yuga, this process is not prescribed. Instead, we should just chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau nastev nastev gatiranyatha. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayana chalam sthira samprekshya nasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhi brahmachari vrate sthita mana samyamya machito yukta sitamatpara. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So here the Ashtanga Yoga process is continuing. We'll skip the purport in this one. 15th verse. Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasa shantim nirvana paramam matsamstam adhigacchati. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. Yay, we have reached the kingdom of God. Yeah. तो योग न चाहति स्वप्न शैलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन. If I need can mitigate all material pains. Oh my gosh. Hare Krishna. Till what time I was audible? Oh, connection in here. आवाज आ रही है क्या? हरे
तो
कृष्णा,
आ रही है, अब तो आ रही है।
ठीक है।
लेकिन
17th
बीच में
वर्स का
चली गई
परपोर्ट
थी।
कब कहाँ तक आ रही थी, कौन से वर्स तक? वैसे किसी को पता नहीं होगा शायद।
वैसे
ठीक है,
ध्यान नहीं है।
17th वर्स, ठीक है। 17th वर्स का परपोर्ट कौन पढ़ेगा? रवि प्रभु आप पढ़ेंगे?
हाँ ओके प्रभु।
यस प्रभु।
I will read 17th verse purport.
यस प्रभु।
The translation: He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, creation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are the demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to Bhagavad Gita 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption and not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyartha kalatvam. Avyartha kalatvam. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected to Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material pleasure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all the body activities, there is no material misery for him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. Very nicely read. You want to explain? Let us in a little bit.
Yeah, here Lord Krishna, Prabhupada is saying that these are the 4 major things which have to be regulated: eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, because these are the 4 things which are directly sort of proportional to sense gratification. We are doing the complete sense gratification through eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and therefore all our activities, material activities, are directed at getting these pleasures and conveniences. So as a Krishna conscious person, one should regulate. So Krishna says that you should regulate these things so that you can understand me as Krishna, and he has given the example of Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami, who were like doing a lot of sacrifices in terms of daily conveniences so that they can realize God. And it is important for us. So as long as we are doing these sacrifices, then we can understand Krishna. For example, I am really feeling struggled to get up at 4:30 a.m. and I get up at 6:37. So I still feel that I lack some sort of determination or some sort of things which is required for advancing myself. For prasadam also, I make sure that at least whatever I am eating, I offer it to Krishna before eating. I don't feel like eating anything before. As soon as I get something on my hand, bread or roti or whatever, Krishna name pops up in my mouth. The first Krishna, then I. So this has developed as a inbuilt feeling for me, and so all other things. But yes, sleeping, getting up in the morning is what I am working on, and I'm sure I'll get through it. As Krishna says that anybody who is Krishna conscious rectifies all his things, and you don't have to matter about it. He chapter 9 somewhere he says that anything if he is not doing properly, he will get rectified. So I am depending on Krishna for that. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Krishna will surely help you. Slowly, we have to take incremental steps. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that progress in spiritual life is it consists of baby steps in the right direction. Yeah. So 6:30, make it 6:15, 6 o'clock. And if you get good association, then you might go somewhere and attend Mangalarti 3-4 days. So your rising time will improve drastically. Okay, we'll continue reading. Thank you, bro. Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva vadisthate nispriha sarvakamebhyo yokteti uchyate tada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yogi. The activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. This perfectional stage can be automatically be attained by persons in Krishna consciousness as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane Karau Harer Mandira Marjanatishu Shrutim Chakaruchyata Satkathodaya Mukundalinga Alaya Darshane Drisho Tadvrit Gatra Sparshe Anga Sangamam Granam Chatatpada Saroja Saurabhe Shrima Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite. Okay. So here it is explained that a yogi is always conscious of what is going on in his mind. He's always conscious about his own consciousness, basically. So the best symptom of a yogi is that he doesn't have any material desires in his heart. And the major material desire is for enjoying sex life. That is also dissolved by the effect of Bhakti Yoga. Yatha deepo nivatastho ningate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmana. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. Yeah. So transcendentalist is always stable in his meditation. Mind is compared to a stable lamp. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence and constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyanatmani tushyati sukham atyantikam yatthad buddhigrayam atindriyam vekti yatra na chaivayam stitaschalati tatvata yam labdva cha param labham mannate nadikam tata yasmin stito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukha samyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. These are very beautiful verses. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. So when our mind becomes purified, then through our pure mind, we can experience our self. What is the self? Self is the soul and the super soul. And then when we experience the super soul, then we are able to relish within, we are able to rejoice. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So this is the goal of life. If we are able to establish our connection with Krishna within our heart, then there is no other thing which will shake us. And this is actual freedom from all the sufferings of the material world. So for this we need guidance. The people, the devotees who are already trained, they should guide us how to reach the super soul. We'll skip the purport of this also. About 20 to 24. सनिश्चयेन योक्तव्यो योगनिर्विण्ण चेतसा संकल्प प्रभवान कामां त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसेवेन्द्रिय ग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires, born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Okay. So all the senses are like next door neighbors to the mind. So we should control the mind, and then automatically our senses will be controlled. शनै शनैरुपरमे बुद्ध्या धृति गृहीत्य आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of things. By proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually cease sense activities. This is called pratyahara. The mind being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from the senses should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. So as long as we have this material body, these urges and desires will continue, but we should regulate them. Yeah. यतो यतो निश्चलति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यतदात्मनि एव वशं नयेत्. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So this is applicable especially during the chanting. When we are chanting, we are not able to focus on the sound vibration. So again and again we have to try. Sometimes we have to drink water, we have to change our position to again make the mind more concentrated. Yeah. Manish, we want to read 26 words.
Yeah, 26. Purport.
Yes.
मन स्वभाव से चंचल और अस्थिर है, किंतु स्वरूप सिद्धि योगी को मन को वश में लाना होता है। उस पर मन का अधिकार नहीं होना चाहिए। जो मन को तथा इंद्रियों को भी वश में रखता है, वह गोस्वामी या स्वामी कहलाता है, और जो मन के वशीभूत होता है, वो गोदास अर्थात इंद्रियों का सेवक कहलाता है। गोस्वामी इंद्रिय सुख के मानक से भिन्न होता है। दिव्य इंद्रिय सुख वह है जिसमें इंद्रियां ऋषिकेश अर्थात इंद्रियों के स्वामी भगवान कृष्ण की सेवा में लगी रहती हैं। शुद्ध इंद्रियों के द्वारा कृष्ण की सेवा ही कृष्ण चेतना या कृष्ण भावनामृत कहलाती है। इंद्रियों को पूर्ण वश में लाने की यही विधि है। इससे भी बढ़कर बात यह है कि यह योगाभ्यास की परम सिद्धि भी है। हरे कृष्ण। हो गया।
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we have to serve Krishna with our purified senses. Yeah. Okay, we'll read the last verse. Prashant manasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upayati shantarajasam brahmabhutam kal akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is free from all reactions to past deeds. Yeah, Hina Mataji will read the purport.
Okay. But you have to project it.
27th verse, if you have the book.
27th, 6th ka.
Ah, yes.
Just give me 2 minutes. Yato Nischalati. This is the one, no?
27th. 27th.
27th. Okay. Prashant Manasam.
Read the purport.
I have to read only the purport.
Yes.
Brahma Bhuta is the state of being free from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. Mad bhaktim labhate param. One cannot remain in the quality of Brahman, the absolute unit, until one's mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Sa vai manah Krishna padaravindayoho. Padaravidyayoho. To be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, or to remain in Krishna consciousness, is to be factually liberated from the mode of passion, and all material contamination. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmasha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnate. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact, Supreme, is called Brahma Samsparsha. And we see in the life of Dhruv Maharaj also, Lord Vishnu touched his conch shell on the body of Dhruv Maharaj. And immediately Dhruv Maharaj was enlivened and he paid obeisances to the Lord. So this is called Brahma Samsparsha. And the truth of Krishna always. Yeah. Okay. I think we will pause here. We'll finish the rest of 17 verses in the next class. Okay, bro. Thank you all for joining. Any questions or any thoughts? This is all yoga, which is going on.
Yeah, Prabhu, I have a small query.
Yes, bro. You have a query?
Yeah, small.
Yeah, go ahead.
Acha, one is Bharti Mata just called up. Her phone is not working. So I told her we will send you the recording so that she can join from the next time. She is having problem with her phone. Okay. And Prabhu, can you listen? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. There is some issue with my.
आवाज नहीं आ रही ना? प्रभु आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ, yes, प्रभु आ रही है.
हाँ, my question is that since we are talking about sense gratification in this chapter, and sex enjoyment is supposed to be the most powerful one. So
Yeah.
why is that among all the sense organs, why is repeatedly it is said in Shastras and in Bhagavad Gita, in Shastras also, that sex is the most strongest sense gratification thing? Any light on that?
Yeah, good question actually. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this attraction for the opposite sex, right? Like we have taken so many birds, like we have taken millions of birds where we are attracted by the opposite sex. So we might change the body instead of solving some software problems. We might be barking somewhere, right? We might be roaming in the jungle. But this thing does not change. This attraction for the opposite sex, and so many species are there, and actually that's why it is called Methonagar. Like because of this, we have to take this body, and then this world becomes a agar. Agar is a prison house, and it is only when you indulge more and more dhyayanto vishyansa sangashu pujayate. So you start with like seeing through the mind, like you contemplate that, oh, this girl is so beautiful, and it last level. And when you actually do it, then automatically your senses are very agitated. Like so, immediately your bodily demands will increase once you indulge in sexual activities. So everything is like sexual activity is the most root cause of us being in this material world. So one time, one disciple asked Prabhu Srila Prabhupada that why, should I enter Grahastha ashram by marriage or should I remain brahmachari? So Prabhupada said you can enter Grahastha ashram if you are asking this question, but it's better to remain brahmachari because sex life is always injurious. Like it causes diseases, the entire energy is lost. So the sex life is compared to the camel eating its own blood because a camel eats the leaves of a tree which is full of thorns. So when it eats the thorns, its tongue starts bleeding, and then camel is tasting its own blood and he's happy. He's experiencing joy. So yeah. So this is the basic thing actually. And Prahlad Maharaj compares this sex desire to like a little bit itch is there, and if you do the itching, then the itch will increase. It will turn into a cow. So yeah, this is the like most elementary thing which caused destruction of everything. So in all the movies also, for example, Troy and all, where women have caused destruction, it is only because of the attachment of the kings to the women. So this is the most elementary thing. Even okay, bro.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very well explained. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's why. Thank you for asking this question. I'm only telling what Krishna is inspiring me to tell. So even Lord Chaitanya was very strict in dealing with the opposite sex. He used to keep a very large distance whenever he used to deal with the opposite sex. And one of his disciples, Chota Haridas, he expelled him because of this bad thing. And Chota Haridas committed suicide actually. So Haridas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict. Yeah, Manish, you want to add anything?
But Jihva Begum is much more stronger, to be controlled than that of the sixth, no?
No, your voice was not clear. What is the question?
जिह्वा बेगम कहा जाता है कि अब जो खान पान के जो है कंट्रोल करना, जिह्वा पर कंट्रोल करना, इज it's a very difficult than that of controlling sex.
Yeah. So basically, the engagement of tongue determines our spiritual trajectory. If you speak more, if you eat more, if you eat non-prashadam, then it will automatically cause pressure on belly and then finally genitals. So it will lead you to eject your vital energy. And if you engage your tongue in chanting Hare Krishna and taking prasadam, then and discussing Krishna Katha, then automatically the same tongue can be used for liberation. So it's not like ultimately speaking. speaking more is also a symptom of sex desire only. Like it's a mode of passion which leads us to speak more without any control. Okay, bro. Even overeating is also mode of passion. Yeah.
नहीं जिहुआ
Okay, that-
बेगम वो छे जो बे
I have to. You are asking something, bro. Your voice is not clear.
या
I have to go somewhere.
अब
Let's you can voice message on the group.
अब certainly क्लियर होगा, अब क्लियर होगा.
आप मैसेज कर सकते हैं क्या व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में? मैं उसमें आंसर करता
ठीक है. ओके, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा.
हूँ. Thank you very much.